Okay, you may look at me and think, Marty, you're old. Well, first, that's just not very nice. But you're probably thinking that you've played all the classic games through the decades. However, I really didn't get into the hobby till about 20 years ago, so there's a lot of classic board games I missed. Some big games from the 80s like Hero Quest, Civilization, and even Talisman. If you didn't get into it till like 20 years ago, that means you started when you were 50? I've been away from friends for so long, I've started insulting myself. I'm a sad, sad little man. Talisman has had several editions released throughout the years. The 4th edition, which was the latest, came out in 2007. And even though I was gaming at that time, I still never had a chance to play it. I saw it played at conventions, I saw it mentioned a lot on social media, and then Nomad Games released a version on Steam, and I thought about maybe checking it out then. And then this year, they released a version on the Switch, and I said, okay, I'm in. It's upside down, isn't it? And then this year they released a version on the Switch and I thought, okay, I'm in. The object of the game is to be the last surviving character. The easiest way to kill your competitors is to progress through a series of regions and reach the Crown of Command. The game contains 3 regions: the outer region, the middle region, and the inner region. Players start in the outer region and try to progress inward. The inner region contains the Crown of Command, the central board position. To reach the Crown of Command, players must pass through the Valley of Fire. Only characters possessing a talisman may enter the Valley of Fire, and thus the name of the game. Each player selects a character or hero at random at the beginning of the game that has different special abilities and a set location in which to begin. The characters have several attributes such as life, gold, strength, and craft. Strength and craft are used for 2 different kinds of combat: physical combat and psychic combat. One of the main goals of the game is to build a character so it is strong enough to venture inward, eventually to the Crown of Command. Once at the crown, a character can cast the command spell, causing opponents to lose 1 life each time it is successfully cast. Now, gameplay consists of rolling a dice and moving about the regions. You can move clockwise, you can move counterclockwise. At each location in the regions, the board indicates what takes place. Some locations have set events or encounters, some are random. Many locations indicate to draw a number of adventure cards, and these cards contain numerous events. Some indicate the character has met an enemy who must be fought. Some indicate that the character has found an object or magic object or received a bag of gold, etc. One of the features of the game is that many of the cards remain on the square after being drawn. So if you don't beat an enemy, they'll end up staying on that location, and later on somebody else or even yourself can come back and give it another shot. Building up the character is one of the game's main activities. This can involve gaining followers, increasing in strength and craft, gaining and casting spells, gaining lives, obtaining gold, and acquiring objects and magic objects. By defeating monsters, the characters accrue experience points. The experience they gain is equal to the defeated enemy's craft or strength. These experience points can be redeemed for gold, strength, craft, or life at the cost of 7 experience points for one of those items. The game is a faithful representation of the board game, from the cards to the art to the player characters. And if you already know how to play the game, then you can just jump right in. However, as I mentioned, I never played the game, so I was looking for a good tutorial that'll teach me how to play. And this game doesn't really have a full tutorial. Instead, what it has is tooltips. So when you play your first game, you're going to get these pop-up dialogues that go through the rules of the game as they are needed. On your first turn, it'll explain the goal of the game, details about your character, and what a turn looks like. Then with each new action and encounter, a dialogue box will explain additional rules. And for me, that was a little bit tougher way to learn the rules, because you had to jump into a real game and start playing, and as you progressed, it told you how to play, so you really couldn't plan ahead or anything like that until you'd actually seen through all the tooltips to know exactly how the game is supposed to work. And if any time during the game you want to look up a rule, through the menus you can go look up a rule, but it'll open up a browser and take you to the Nomad Games website, which is fine, except what about in the case where you don't have a Wi-Fi connection and then you don't have access to the website? I would much rather have the rules be embedded in the game itself. But to be fair, Nomad Games released this game in 2014, over 6 years ago. And this was just a direct port from that version to the Switch. So they didn't add in a lot of the features that might be useful today. And in fact, They recently had a game that came out called Mystic Veil that I did a video for that has an excellent tutorial. It walks you through a shortened version of the game, plays you through a sample game so you can see how everything works before actually jumping into a real game. So I think it's just a sign of the age of the app that was ported over to the Switch. The UI is pretty straightforward when it comes to taking your turn. You can zoom in and look at any location on the board. Moving in battles are pretty intuitive. It does take some time to figure out how to use the UI to look at your hand and details on other players, but once you've gone through that a few times, you'll have it down. The game supports playing against UI and other players, but this was one feature I was actually having a problem test out. The Steam version has a way to create a private room where you can add UI or any Steam friends. On the Switch, you can create a private game, but there is no button for inviting your friends. Then for public games, this is supposed to be cross-platform compatible, including iOS, Google Play, and PS4. But the public games that show up on Steam do not show up on the Switch version. And I couldn't find out any information on this, but maybe the Switch is not cross-platform compatible. Regardless, I can never play online because I never could find any public games to jump into, nor did I have any friends that had the Switch version that I could hook up with. But after this video, if I figure out how to do it and can actually go through and play a game online, I'll update the description of the video below and give you my thoughts on it. Now, if you've never played Talisman before, let me warn you, this can be a long game. 1 to several hours depending on the number of players and how long it takes for people to take their turn, etc. Now, playing against the UI, that's no big deal, because if you stop a game, next time you come back and play it on the Switch, you can resume and pick up where you left off. But if you're wanting to play online, that's more of an issue. And in fact, if you do play online with friends, if you find a way to do it through Switch or even Steam, I do recommend using some sort of voice chat like Discord or something, because that's part of the fun of the game, is interacting with your friends as you play. And since it is going to be a longer game, you probably want to fill in the gaps while others are taking their turn with chatting with your buddies. In fact, my son plays all the time on Steam with his friends. They have a private Discord channel. They hop in there and just play all night and have the best time. Now, since playing this game, and since my son likes it, I thought maybe this is worth having on my shelf in case you want to have a family game night or something like that. Like I said, the 4th edition came out in 2007, and it's hard to find a copy in shrink anymore. Guess I could go on the aftermarket and get a used copy, so I was looking around for ways to be able to play this game. Well, thankfully, WizKids has a version of the game. WizKids has a version of the game called Relic, which is based in the Warhammer 40k universe. This version adds some new mechanics I really like, such as new character progressions and leveling, goal-oriented mission cards, corruption cards that wear down your character over time, exhaustible war gear, and combat has exploding dice, where when a 6 is rolled, you roll it again, adding the new result to the 6 that you just rolled, thus increasing the odds of battle in your favor. But if you want to play classic Talisman, then USAopoly, or now Op Games, or is it OP Games, has 3 new versions that's been rethemed, including Kingdom Hearts, Batman, and Star Wars. Now, based on your location, some of these may not be available to you, so go check your local retailer and see what you can find. But if you do like Talisman, it is out there for you to play, and I did mention this on multiple platforms, but if you want to check it out on the Switch, it's $19.99 on the eShop. Every once in a while it might go on sale, so keep an eye on that. In addition, they have tons of DLC, which introduces some new cards and new characters, so we can always keep your game fresh. And there's my thoughts on Talisman on the Switch. My question to you is, what do you think about Talisman? Is it a game that you enjoy playing? Is it a game that you may not want to play the physical version, but you wouldn't mind playing on an app sometime, whether it be on Steam or the Switch? Why don't you let me know your thoughts in the comments? And please, if you like this video, then give a like, and if you want to see some more content like this, hit the subscribe button, as I have some more Switch games in the queue that I can't wait to share with you and talk about, and some of them are classics that I have actually played that I can't wait to see how they come out on the Switch. Y'all take care.